Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to my channel. My name's Marissa, and today I am doing part 2 of my April wrap-up. So as you guys all know, in the month of April, it was the O.W.L's readathon, or the Owls, for you Harry Potter lovers out there. So I participated and I said that I wanted to be a Hogwarts professor. So I will have you know that I did actually complete all of the prompts for the Hogwarts professor, and on top of that, I actually completed all 12 of the prompts, and then even read beyond that. So I'm pretty proud of myself. Gonna give myself a little pat on the back for that one. So for the second half of the month of April, the first book I read was On Stranger Tides by Tim Powers, and this was basically the book that inspired the Pirates of the Caribbean, and it also inspired the TV show Black Sails, if you guys have seen that. I thought this book was pretty interesting. I found it very disjointed because it's almost like a series of short stories within the same timeline, if you will. It basically starts off with this guy who is on a ship and he's trying to go to Jamaica to basically meet up with his uncle because his uncle like stole the family fortune out from under his dad. So basically his ship gets taken over by pirates, and then he ends up joining the pirates and learns to be a pirate, basically. The only problem I have with it is you really don't see a lot of his character growth. It's like there's a time jump and it's like, oh, all of a sudden he's just great at being a pirate, and you kind of miss out on all the steps along the way. I don't know, I just thought the story like skimmed the surface of the storyline and didn't really get into depth. Now, I will say that this book, I think it was published in like 1987, so it's definitely from a different era. I mean, I was a year old when this book was published. So it's definitely a different writing style than what I'm used to. It's not something that I would normally pick up. So I did end up reading this one for my Defense Against the Dark Arts prompt, which was to read a book that is set at the sea or on the sea or near the sea or just near water. So this one actually was a fill-in because originally I was either going to read The Lady of Rivers or Into the Water. The Lady of Rivers was by Philippa Gregory and Into the Water was by Paula Hawkins. I don't regret reading the book. It just wasn't as great as I thought it was going to be because I was in a piratey mood and it just didn't do much for me. There is a lot of technical language in there that I have no clue, and none of it was explained. It's a lot of, you know, sailing technical terms. No idea what the hell he was talking about most of the time, and he never explained what it was. So it was like you're just like left to imagine it. So that is another thing that kind of annoyed me. So the next one that I ended up reading was A Torch Against the Night by Sabaa Tahir, and that I did read in. So that one I did read in physical format. I ended up giving that only a 3 stars. This is the second book in the Ember and the Ashes trilogy, or actually I think it's a quartet, but the 4th book hasn't come out yet. Yeah, it's a quartet. So this is the second book in the series, and it's basically obviously a continuation of the first one. I can't really give you a whole lot of details because I don't want to spoil anything for those of you who actually haven't actually read it. This one was for the divination prompt, and that was to assign numbers to your TBR and then put it into a random number generator and let it pick for you. So thankfully it picked this one, which was great because I had already read the first book in the series, so just continued on with it. So the next book that I read was A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Brigid Kemmerer, and that I read on audiobook. This one is basically a Beauty and the Beast retelling. I thought it was okay. I really did not enjoy it as much as I thought I was going to. It is very different from Beauty and the Beast. I can see the bones of where they got that from, but I don't know. I like the representation in here because the main character's got, I can't remember what it was. Was it cerebral palsy or something like that? Anyway, she's got some kind of degenerative disease or degenerative issue or whatever going on, and so I liked the representation in there. I liked the fact that she was, you know, another one of those badass female lead characters in the book, but I just didn't enjoy this as much as I thought I was going to. I was definitely not invested in the story whatsoever. I actually have continued on with the second book because I got them both on audiobook at the same time, and I'm really not enjoying that one. I haven't listened to it in weeks just because I'm like, I don't really care. Like, the follow-up on the first book, not great. So I don't know if I'm actually going to continue on with the series, but anyway, I digress. I did not actually read this for any of the O.W.L's prompts. I just got it and decided to listen to it. The next book that I read was Ink in the Blood by Kim Smejkal, and this one I ended up giving 4 stars also. The only problem that I really had with this was it was like a runaway to the carnival kind of thing. But the whole premise of the book is based on the fact that their deity tells these people, who are special, of course, that are in the religion, to tattoo people with these messages. And only these special people can do it because they have ink in their blood. And so of course these girls who are at this basically like a convent monastery kind of deal decide to run away, and they go and join the circus, and basically the entire book is them railing against this religion and this goddess. And I do not enjoy books that are focused on religion like this. It is extremely boring to me. It doesn't really do anything for me. So it was a really tough read for me to actually get through just because of that aspect. It's just not something that I really enjoy. So I did end up giving this book a 4 stars just because the writing was good. I thought the story was good, except for the fact that it just wasn't for me. So this one I did end up reading for the Ancient Runes prompt, and that was to read a book with a heart on the cover or heart in the title. And on the cover of this book, which I will put up here because I already got rid of it, there is an actual heart on there, like a, anatomical heart, not just like a cartoony heart. So for the next one, I ended up finishing the 4th book in the Stalking Jack the Ripper series by Kari Maniscalco, and that is Capturing the Devil. This one I thought was a hell of a lot better than the 3rd book in the series, which, if you guys know, or if you watched my last wrap up where I talked about this, it was painful. The 3rd book was very, very painful. This one was definitely really interesting, and it actually connects you all the way back to the very first book. So I really found this a great wrap up to the series. I thoroughly enjoyed it. This was the longest book in the series, so it was very, very nice. So I did read this on ebook, and it was for the prompt of astronomy, and that was to read a book mostly at night, which my ebooks generally I read those right before bed. So obviously it's usually dark when I'm going to sleep. So I read that mostly in bed, and it was dark outside. The next one is The Merciful Crow by Margaret Owen. This book was about basically these cases of people who are based on like birds, and these crows, they have no innate powers of their own, but they can use the teeth from other groups of people to cast magic spells, or at least their witches can. I'm going to tell you right now, that part of this was not explained very well. It was like by the end of the book, I was just kind of getting the hang of understanding what the hell was going on with all this magical stuff. I did really enjoy the story. Basically, the whole story is about this girl and her family, or basically this traveling group of these crows, and they are the only caste of people who are immune to the plague. So basically they are called upon to go into these cities and give mercy or kill these people with what's called the sinner's plague before the rest of the village gets it. So they go in, they kill these people, and then they take them out and they burn their bodies. And basically they are treated like crap, even though they're doing this huge service for people. So turns out they have to go and take care of the prince and of course, chaos ensues after that. So I did think it was a really interesting book. I don't think that the whole premise of it was explained very well. I think the magic system really wasn't explained very well. I am interested to read the second book and see if it is more expanded upon. Yeah, and just kind of see how that goes. Plus, there is a love story in there. It's very insta-lovey. I am not a fan of insta-love, as you guys know, and most other people are not a fan of insta-love. This one, it wasn't terrible, but book 2 might be. So, I don't know. We'll have to see. My judgment's still out on the series as a whole. So, the next book that I read was The Girl of Nightmares, and I literally just put this on my TBR to read in May because it was a continuation of a series, and since I had some time at the end of the month, I figured, well, you know, I got 10 books on my TBR for next month, so I might as well just start reading the books that I have on the TBR already. So The Girl of Nightmares was the continuation of Anna Dressed in Blood, which of course is a middle grade book, well, middle grade young adult-ish book, very juvenile, very insta-lovey, but it's definitely an interesting story. If you can get past the whole insta-love crap, again, it's a really good story. It's really unique, and you know what? I enjoyed it. It literally only took me a day to read, so it was not bad at all. The final one that I read in the month of April was A Reaper at the Gates, which is of course the third book in An Ember in the Ashes series. I don't know. I honestly do not know if I'm going to read the last book in the series or not. I'm just not that invested. I just don't care. I just don't see the point. The whole thing is very muddled. There are so many storylines going on. I just can't. I can see how they all fit together. I just don't care. I don't care about any of these characters enough to give a crap whether they live. She could kill them all off now and I'd be like, sweet. You know what I mean? It's one of those stories. So I honestly don't think that I'm going to end up reading the fourth book in the series. Once it comes out, I might just read somebody's Cliff Notes version on it just to find out what happens so that I don't have to subject myself to the pain of me trying to read these. I just did not think they were that good. Honestly, I can kind of see where she was going with it. I just think that she made it way too complicated and way too intricate for what the story demanded, and she should have killed off a few of these characters a long time ago, and yet somehow they all survived. Okay, so my totals for the month. I ended up reading 16 books, 6,341 pages. I gave 14 4 stars and 2 3 stars, which is not too bad. It's not quite as much as I read last month, but you know, it is what it is. So I guess we'll see what happens in the month of May. So anyway, that is all I have for you guys today. I hope you guys have a good one, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for watching my video. I upload every Wednesday and Saturday, and I would really love it if you would like, comment, and subscribe my videos. Have a great day.